Okay, we'll be looking at space planning and move management under the following subtopics. The outline is going to be one, we look at the need for space planning, look at space planning process, space allocation options, move management, key consideration for space process, for move process, sorry. Straight up, by way of introduction, the way a space is planned always determines its use and its purpose. It is important that facility managers knows the basic requirement for different spaces as it relates to its use. I want to presume a lot of us are already into facility management, and maybe just a few persons are just probably venturing into facility management. However, you as a facility manager, you're expected to know the spaces you manage. You're expected to know, one, the way the space is configured, two, also the use and the purpose for that space. Knowing this will help you as a facility manager to be able to manage the space effectively and know exactly what to look out for in this. You have churches, you have mosques, you have markets, you have malls. These spaces are configured differently from each other, and each space itself has its form and the way it looks. The effective and efficient way a space is used is key for a facility manager also, as it helps him or her know if the space is fully utilized. You will better understand to know whether that space is fully utilized or not. If you have an auditorium, that the maximum seating capacity of that auditorium is, like, let's say, about 700, and constantly you have been sitting, let's say, 100 persons in that capacity, in that auditorium, from time to time, and it has never exceeded. Not by reason of maybe cost or the request of the of probably the client, but due to the fact that you do not understand or know the capacity of the hall, and you are always saying, "Oh, this hall can only take 100 persons," and meanwhile, the design of that hall is to take 700 persons. If you don't understand this, then you'll be underutilizing that space. You will not be able to use that facility to its maximum. You may use it and it will be comfortable, but you are not effectively utilizing the space and all the auxiliary facilities that has been provided for in that space is not being used to its optimum capacity. Hence, you are wasting resources and you're also wasting space, which is probably paid for. But once you use a space that is meant for 700 to meet up with the required number, 700, 650, or thereabouts constantly, you will be able to understand that the space is well programmed for that use. And you discover that the facilities sometimes will work better than when it is underutilized. And it's very important to understand that so that you know exactly when a space is being underutilized or when it is being properly utilized. In most of our new generation offices, like we'll come to see, flexibility is becoming a key requirement as organizations are continually changing the way they work. The facility manager needs to become familiar with the way the organization is moving and then ask himself the following questions. There are some key questions that the facility manager needs to, from time to time, ask himself. One of the questions is, one, especially when you're managing a space, you have been there for a while, Is this present space well utilized? Do we reduce, increase the amount of space being used? And you can only do this when you have data. For a facility manager, it is very important that you collect data from time to time. I hope in the several classes that probably you've been having, they've mentioned the importance of data collection. If that has not been done, I'm sure that very soon that will be done. You will get to understand the need and importance of probably having enough data to as a facility manager, so that you'll be able to understand and know what your space can do, what its capacity is, and how to manage same space. Also, you must also ask yourself, is it possible to renegotiate the current lease in terms of pricing and other agreements? Um, in standard offices or standard organizations as well set up, the lease agreement normally will be managed with under the facility management department, so that they understand exactly what is going on and understand what the lease is all about, the clauses in the lease agreements, and see if there's a window for renegotiation of a lease, or the lease is just fixed and it cannot be renegotiated. It is often advised that a lease agreement has a little bit of flexibility for renegotiation, such that when things are not going the way you plan as a facility manager, you can advise management to take the right step towards renegotiating the lease to get a little bit of leeway. Most of the times, we will always advise that for very large clients, that they make provision for in a lease of an office space where you have the clause added that you may be able to sublease part of the project. If that is if that is put into the project, when you are currently underutilizing your facility, you can actually trigger that clause and reduce your activity to a point where the other part that is not being useful can be subleased to some other companies. You are still paying the mother rent for the facility. However, you have the leeways to sublease and make some more money out of the money you probably have paid to the landlord or thereabouts, or to the property owners, as it were. Another question you must ask yourself: is the space still meeting the business needs and development of the organization? Every organization has needs, has development orientation. Every organization has one or two things that they always will want to look up to, and the core business activity and how it's being managed. Now, you are supposed to know exactly what these things are, and from time to time, evaluate the facility or the space that you manage to see that that facility still meets up with the business needs and development of the organization. Does the location befit the business needs? Sometimes you may also look at the location of the business. Maybe when the business started, that location where you find yourself is ideal and very good and is good enough. And as the business is growing or has grown, it has gotten to a point where you may need to relocate that business from where it is, or you probably may have some other factors that you look at which will help in taking this direction, the decision that will also probably help you advise management to be able to save costs. From time to time, facility managers are always majorly put in that position where they can help management save some kind of funds and while they run the facility that they manage. The need for space planning. We shall be considering the need for space planning under the following subheadings. One, we look at legislation and standards. We look at churn rate, we look at space utilization and accommodation standards. Legislation and standards. There are some minimum requirements that is required for every space, that will be office or residential. And those things, when they are not met, you as a facility manager, and you probably do not have the input to be able to ensure that the things are provided for the minimum required standards. That means that building will not advise that that building be inhabited by the client. However, from time to time, you can also advise the client on exactly what to do to ensure that minimum required standards are met. One of the things that we look at is the minimum amount of space to be provided per staff member. By standard, a staff member in an open office is supposed to have a minimum of about 2.88 square meters, which is approximately 3 square meters for each the for each of the staff that was going to sit in the open office. They're supposed to have 3 square meters to themselves, which includes the decks, the working space, and then the circulation space around the swivel chairs or the swivel tax chairs that the staff will use. Normally, we also look out for fire safety arrangements. You look at how safe the building is, how, if there's an emergency, how quickly can people evacuate the building? How quickly can they run out of the building when there is an emergency? Or rather, also, we also look at the firefighting arrangement of the building. How safe is the building to be able to manage emergency or fire when it comes? Normally, these are considerations that we expect that you consider as a facility manager. You look at the escape route, you look at the emergency if provided and where it is normal, where it is provided. You look at the mustard points where it is. You look at if the building have a emergency response unit, if it has a announcing bell where you can just hit the bell, there's an emergency and it triggers the whole building and the fire alarm system comes up so that people are alerted and they leave the building to a safe point, which is the mastered point where the head count will normally be taken. So it is important for us to note safety measures or safety arrangement in buildings when you are considering that for facilities that you manage or you are moving into the facility. Look at signages. Signages will give indications of the different spaces in the facility. This can be done by yourself. You may advise management to put the door tags or name tags on doors for offices and for open offices, and also put a directional map for exit points, put on exit lamp so that wherever anybody find themselves in the property or in the office space, they can easily access the nearest exit. They can easily access the nearest exit in case of emergency. We also look at ventilation. Ventilation will normally refer to the level of air movement within a given space. These days, more and more offices do not rely on natural ventilation. They actually look at artificial ventilation. That's where they use air conditioning system that does the air exchange for you, so brings in cool air, takes out hot air. You know, it helps to make the compressor and all the works that they make it good enough for everybody to manage and ensure that when people are working in that space, they are able to breathe properly without any issues. The next one is thermal control. Thermal control will probably refer to the temperature at which people work in the space. If the environment is very hot and there's no air conditioning system in that space, you will agree with me that it will be difficult for you to be able to work in that space, talk less of any other person. You take the whole time that you're supposed to use for working, try to make yourself comfortable by looking for maybe a hand fan or something to just blow yourself when there's so much heat in the office, which is always not advisable. To also mention just that. Then also, even the cooling system for the building, if it is too chilled, too cold, it's also difficult for people to work and to affect their productivity eventually. Also look at welfare arrangement. Welfare arrangement will be looking at vending processes, ability to be able to understand or know exactly what the staff members want and making adequate provision for them, so that at least they, from time to time, they know exactly, they don't need to go too far from the building to be able to snack or take or go on break, where they don't need to travel away from the building so far, so that they're able to do the work that they need to do while just having a little bit of snacking within the office and within the office hours, which is notable for most offices that I've ever worked in. Anyway, it's also very important for you to know that apart from the vending machine, you also need to make provision for conveniences, which is toilets for the office spaces. It is very important to make adequate numbers available depending on the number of people that will be using the facility, so that the fan, so that everybody will be comfortable enough when they are working, so they don't need to go too far or travel too far out to go and use themselves, because using of toilets in office space is very important because people sit for a long time and they tend to want to use themselves after a while. We look at churn rate. Churn rate. This is the process. This process refers in many organizations, office layouts are subject to frequent changes. This change is referred to as churn rate. It is the expressed as percentage of staff movement during a year. Normally, churn happens, you have vertical or horizontal. Horizontal means that the staff members are leaving the organization, while horizontal means that they are being promoted regularly. They are being promoted regularly. Whichever one that happens, there is a movement. And you are supposed to track the movement as facility managers to ensure that you have the adequate data to advise management at every point in time what they require to do to ensure that the space is well utilized. In a situation where you have a lot of people leaving the organization over a 3-year period, you should have a mapping that shows, oh, at the beginning of the first year, you had 100 staff. By the end of that year, you had maybe 95 staff. At the beginning of the new year, you had 95 staff. At the end of that year, you got probably about 85 staff. You can see that the trend is coming. People are going. By the time you start the year with 80 staff, by the time you are getting towards the end of the year, you discover that you are having probably 75 or 70 staff. You mean that people are exactly leaving. You need to now develop a data and inform management adequately of this fact so that necessary arrangements will be made to plan for the people that are leaving. And probably you now find out from management, oh, they are probably actively retrenching people. What do you do at that time? You begin to know exactly how to manage the space. You ask management to give you projections of what they are doing so that when it hits the required numbers, they know, so that everybody can be sure of what is required to be done at every point in time. A measure of the number of staff that moves out is very important for you to have that detail. It is one of two primary factors that determines the steady state level of staff in organizations. The organization will be able to support the amount of staff who cut ties with the company during a period of time. It simply simply implies that the staffs have just churned when they leave the company, and probably they move somewhere else or move to another company, or probably just retrench themselves as is required. Space utilization. A measure of whether and how spaces is being utilized. You look at the space, I look at the number of staff that can be there, and you now calculate that. You know the exact standard that is required. Utilization rate is a factor of a frequency rate and occupancy rate. Frequency rate measures the proportion of time that staff use the space compared to its availability. You know that there's some offices where you have a lot of staff that go off to site. By the time you calculate and say, oh, let's say 50% of the total number of staff, I don't know, I'm not really in the office. They just come spend 1 hour, 2 hours, and they're off. And you have provided space for them. Let's assume you provide 100 space, and you only have like 50 active workers that work from that space. It probably doesn't make sense to have 50 workstations that are just dormant most of the times when they work cannot progress. So it's very important for you to understand and know exactly how that space is being utilized and how it is being managed. Your occupancy measures how full the space is compared to its capacity. If you have a hall that can seat 700 persons, and at the end of the day, you are forcing 1,000 persons into that hall, you know that you're overutilizing that space. You are going to stretch the facility that are required to make that space functional. If it's like a hall now, a multi-purpose hall that is supposed to seat 700 persons and you have 1,000 persons there, the AC calculation for that space caters for 700 persons. By the time you have 1,000 persons, the chances are that space they'll find it difficult to cool that space because you have more bodies in that space, which will now affect the air conditioning system of that particular space. And once that happens, it means that the air conditioners will be working non-stop for a very long time. And when that happens again, as it were, it affects the performance of the air conditioning system. It leads to frequent and regular breakdown. From time to time, you will now be looking for how to fix the air conditioning system, not knowing that you are overstretching the system itself. And once you overstretch the system itself, it will definitely break down. And once that breaks down, you need to be forced to maintain it. And if you are not able to maintain it in good time, you probably be forced to replace it when it has gone through so much cycles of maintenance. Utilization rate can be assessed in terms of both its use and its predicted use. Sometimes you look at the present use or occupancy of the space, and you can also have projections to know exactly what occupation for each staff grade. It is very important that you understand what is required at this time for the company, so you can plan adequately for the space. Administrative staff may work in open offices, while managerial staff may have some individual enclosed offices. Size and how the organization would like to move or work with itself. Some organizations have a policy where everybody works for the open office, only just senior management that have their own offices at any point in time. Why some office, except executives, every other person works on the general pool. And I've seen that work and also work in that space before. Managers may have individual offices, like I've said on earlier on. Businesses, office layout design should provide an environment suitable for the business needs of the organization. For example, a call center undertake their business on the screen, so they will require less documentation. They will probably have smaller deskes, require small desks area per staff, minimal document storage, and may have limited requirements for photocopying facility or printing facility. Because of the kind of work that customer care does, they may not have so much of that. Sorry, call centers, not customer care. Call centers that receive calls of customers remotely. Also, in contrast, company handling paper-based documentation require larger desks for their staff, storage records, archiving facilities, photocopying systems, and printing facility to be able to handle all the necessary requirements that the company will need. While call centers do not need some of this, regular offices will need that. Staff welfare. Office staff requires access to basic welfare facility in an office, such as toilet and drinking water. Is very important. I mentioned about toilet. Drinking water is also a part of what offices should have. Clean drinking water, because a lot of persons will probably take water during the working hours, and it's not always right when this is not provided for. Other considerations may also be given to vending or catering services, depending on how the office is set up. Sometimes they have a vendor that brings the food there and they take, while some they have everything prepared. You just call and they send you your package, as it were. However, you could even have a canteen itself where you can all just prepare in the company complex, and then people just go to take their lunch when it is required. A place where staff can make a drink or take a break from their decks. That's probably having 2 points scattered around the areas of the building so that you'll be able to manage that, as it were. Services. Each desk in an office may require a telephone point, telephone, and a computer. In large offices, power and data cable may run under a raised floor to the decks. Sometimes another alternative is the use in small offices is to use the nano trunk system around the walls. Nano will just be placed around the walls, so that if you need to get any connection, you just go to the wall and plug what you need to plug there, and then you are connected. An alternative and other alternatives are to use ceiling power poles, like shown in the picture on the right of the slide, and also can assist space. This can assist space planning of decks, and always from the perimeter. It's very important we note that also. Partitions. Open offices are often divided up into smaller offices for managers, meeting rooms, as it were, and etc. The following factors should be taken into consideration when you are doing partition of the space, especially if it's a space you are just moving in that you are not used to before. You need to organize and know exactly what the space looks like. The following factors should be taken into consideration. One, the heat and cooling zones and ventilation. That's very important. You know exactly what to do and how to do it, as it were. It depends on how that is being managed. Also, you look at the lighting and light switches, emergency lighting system. Look at voice and data cabling. Look at fire alarm and firefighting routes. Look at the noise attenuation or acoustics to be able to see how each space is isolated from noise, so that you don't have a meeting or an enclosed office where the manager is discussing some sensitive matters and everybody in the open office is hearing what the managers is saying. So it's very important to note that. Space planning process. What processes do we do? Normally, when you have a new office you are planning to move into, a few things that you need to also know or do. One of them is to interview several architects or space planners. Space planners are regularly architects. Not all architects are space planners, but most space planners are architects. Select a professional that understands your business objectives in details. A professional that understands the business needs in detail. More experienced persons are able to do that. Good space planners can quickly, one, interpret how the organization operates. Two, make suggestions to improve efficiency and flow. Three, this will translate into a design that balances company's vision, stroke space utilization, also development, adjacent, and future growth for the organization. It's just someone that understands that we'll be able to interpret it for the offices. Room for growth. Companies aim to grow, not to remain stagnant. As job increase in business development, there will be need to move space to home more staff in every department. Expansion options should be considered when negotiating a lease agreement. To properly plan for growth, the following will need to be done. Take into account your current headcount, compare it with your future growth projections by analyzing and understanding what the maximum headcount may look like over a 3 to 5 year period. You limit any foreseeable hiccups in the future regarding your company situation. Plan for future employees now, so that when your company does grow, they already have a place to put them. Most of the times, management do not know exactly, or probably do not have a full glimpse of what the office will probably be, or the place is supposed to be 3 to 5 days. But when you have your data, you can actually talk to management, and management will be able to extract these things and give to you, which will help in your projections and your planning. You limit any unforeseen where you plan. You plan for the future, for future employments, like we had earlier, employees, as like we have earlier said. There is a risk to think to planning big or future plan. One, if you're unable to meet the growth goals, you may end up with too much space, office space, to be used as a risk. Also, you may need to consider subleasing your office. In this case, when you have a situation where instead of people growing, the office is going down, you can raise it so that they can attend to it so they can attend to it, as it were, when it's required. You may also have a point where you can need to reevaluate your space plan from time to time, and be sure there is a sublease provision in your lease that addresses your potential issues. Like I said earlier on when we begin the class, it's very important that you ensure that you have a sublease clause that allows you to sublease your facility, especially for office spaces, where you take it over a long period of time, so that you have a little bit of control. And when business is down, you can also lease out to make a little bit of funds available for the business to grow. One of the ongoing debates for a long time is whether it is better to have open plan or enclosed cubicles. Which direction should you take? It depends on the office's policy. They determine, most of the time they tell you exactly what they want. Should you consider an open office plan? That decision is strongly depending on the industry and how the industry works. What makes your team perform better? You need to understand if they work together in an open space, will they perform better? Do they get better results by your team collaborating or interacting? Your employee perform better in a focused, productive, driven environment. Some environments are toxic, work environments are toxic. Once you get in there, you are depressed. You don't know how to, they probably didn't spend enough money to ensure that when team members are performing, they actually perform well and improves the bottom line of the company. Do you get better results when team collaborates? These are some of the factors that you need to look at. Do your employee perform better in a focused, productive, driven environment? You need to know this data, and that will help you to plan and ensure you take the right decision when it comes to doing the necessary stuff. Also, going remote. This is no longer new to us. A lot of us do the work from home. So going remote is your ability of your company to set up a cloud working system where you can log into your office from wherever you are and then work from there. So if you have that facility in your office, you may necessarily not have to go to work. You'll be working from home, work from wherever you find yourself, whether home, whether hospital, whether home voice. You cannot locate it. You cannot do whatever you want. You can just always try as much as possible to plan around what is required to be done, to give their employees a bit more freedom in working from home or away from the office, that is working remotely. If companies have a remote working policy, consider the space utilization ratio, consider the percentage of time employees spend in the office. We've talked about that earlier on in the class. A good idea may be to indicate, so to include areas where floor plans where you have a little bit of flexibility in movement and flexible furniture that can be moved. Special considerations make room for specific use, such as large lunchrooms, breakout spaces, or private meeting area where people can quickly just go have short meeting over a glass of coffee. Space allocation options. There are ways of allocating space in the offices now, especially the modern offices. One of the areas that they do is that they do the hoteling system. The hoteling system happens where before you come to the office, you book for an office space probably per week or depending on August approval. Once that happens, you need to plan that and look at how it fits into the scheduling of the people. Once you have been approved to work from the office for a given period of time, you must account for the time and ensure that you do what you're supposed to do. Also, when you are not working for the Lord, you're also supposed to be able to understand exactly how to manage the hoteling system and how it works. With hoteling system, workers do not need to sign, do not need to be assigned permanent desks. They don't need to do that. They just know that they have office spaces where they are working, and then they can take it. Instead, they reserve a desk for their temporary use, like I explained, for the days they are expected to work in the office. For hoteling system, they have a little bit of benefits, saving costs on commercial real estate. You don't need to rent very large spaces. You can just rent medium space and do that. Create opportunity for staff members to mingle and to collaborate depending on style. The next one is the hot desk system. Hot desk system is when you make provision for flexible desks, working areas for visiting staffs that probably work in other states and probably come to your state and need to fix something. Once you fix it, they hoist it back up. Also, by the time you have the people coming in from wherever they are, once they are done from the office, they can return back to base. Most of these telecom have this what's it called, the hot desk areas, where once you come in, you show your ID card, they acknowledge you're supposed to be in that particular state for a time, they make provision for you, give you a desk to work and all the required assistance that is required. A primary motivation for hot desk system is cost reduction through space saving. Up to 30% in some cases can also happen. Valuable in city where the real estate price is very high. Increasingly, Victoria Island and Ikoyi office spaces are becoming extremely high. So people are looking towards this hot dexing system. Also, we also have another one. We have the telecommuting. You already know that when you're having conference call by mobile telephone, you can also have Zoom meetings like what we are doing now, where everybody can see you and also contribute. Everybody's in different locations, but they are meeting from time to time at a particular time and a particular day to be done. Open space plan. The use of large open spaces and minimize the use of small enclosed rooms or offices, such as private office. Evaluation of open plan. Neither open nor closed plan offices are perfect for all situations or for all individuals. The right balance is required. The offices well, also Open office gives the right balance. The right balance is required for that to work, to ensure that people are not easily distracted. An open office design is likely to involve trade-offs for workers and some other positives and negatives, which we would have touched earlier on. Advantages of open plan. The openness may improve communication and collaboration among workers, enable the flow of information amongst team workers. Also, the increase in collaborative results from open office workspaces can lead to improve business and also bring a little bit of innovation. A lot of IT offices they do that because there are a lot of things that they require innovation for. Reduces heat or stroke cooling at electricity expense. When it's open, you have less private rooms to be able to cool. You can now cool. You can use less cooling system to cool such space. Reduces heat or hot, and the expense to electricity. By the time you don't use too much of air condition, your electricity expense will come down. Provide greater flexibility in accommodating all involving persons' needs, depending on how they go. They can important. Okay, disadvantage now. Disadvantage of open office may reduce concentration and productivity. Sometimes it does that. Lack of privacy is another potential problem with open office spaces. Open plan layout also facilitates the spread of disease, like something like COVID that is contagious, that is airborne. Once somebody has COVID and you are working in an open area, you are sure that all of you will catch it, because when it starts coughing, no matter how smart that he is, he will still release plenty bacteria and viruses, and then it goes around to everybody in the office. Business outcome may be reduced by the high rate of absenteeism due to sicknesses. Sometimes we also have some legal issues when that really happens. Breakout spaces. Breakout areas are areas in the building where they are what we call semi-formal spaces. Just putting couches where people can go have short meetings over a cup of coffee. It's very important to make such provision in office spaces. It can also look as a vital point for places like where you have hot decks and so people can work there. Benefits of a well-designed breakout space can serve many purposes, providing space for informal catch-ups and meetings, also for gambling a bit of a bite, for me to go and grab a bite to eat at lunch before you eat your proper lunch, at least just to get something small from around where just sit down at the breakout lunch and have that. It's very important. Where to greet people, sorry, visitors and clients, you need to look at where areas, you need to cover out areas where you can accept or see visitors or clients when they come, when you don't want them to go inside the building. Also promote employees' well-being, and also improve the posture and help to relieve stress when they are working from the open office. Oh, move management. I'll stop here and then we'll take a 5 minutes break. We'll continue after the 5 minutes break into move management. And when we are done with move management, we'll now take our questions and then we'll probably close. So I want you to just take those questions down and we'll go on break now. I hope that's fine with everybody for the next 5 minutes or thereabout, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll return back to continue the class. I hope that's fine. So we are going for a 5 minutes break. Please just hang on so that more people may come in. So thank you very much. A very large aspect, or Okay. In many organizations, office layouts are subject to frequent changes. These changes refer as churn rate. These movements are normally planned by the facility management department when you have major movements. Facility manager plans for the following: the minimum amount of space to be provided per staff member. These are some of the things the facility manager must do. Check for the fire safety arrangements, lighting level, ventilation and thermal control, welfare arrangements such as toilets, and so on and so forth. Reasons for move. Normally, once there's a move location, normally there are some reasons that normally cause it. Sometimes it's either because of expansion or growth. The present office space may not be adequate enough, good enough. You need a big one. 2, to reduce costs. 3, to consolidate offices. If you have offices that are scattered different places and you want to bring them to one building to manage them so that all of them, they are working from one particular space. Lease renewal and expiration. Once the lease, you are renewing lease or probably is expired. Access to new market, reorganization or better facility, improve your brand perception, enhance employees' morale, upgrade technology, and be closer to clients and competitors, depending on what you want to do exactly. Then also, factors to consider when vetting office space. When you want to move to a new office, the following factors are to be considered. 1, look at the source of the power or cooling system. Look at that. First of all, look at electrical systems to show that the building is proper and is good. Plumbing systems to ensure that you don't have leakages, that the place is okay. For electrical, you ensure that the building has not had any issue with connectivity problems. You look at waste disposal system. How is the waste being managed? Sufficient physical space, especially for parking and all that. Communication service provider where it's required. Then wireless connectivity, and look at the phone and computer cabling system. Also look at the IP-based security system to ensure that the place is secured. Planning steps when you are running a move. Once you want to park from one place to the other, how to manage the steps. Normally, first of all, you look at define the reason for the move. Once management has given you the reason for the move, you write it down and define it once the activity takes place. You create a checklist. You get a checklist, create a checklist to know exactly what needs to move. Know your key dates, set a budget, brief your property agents, remove your office. Sorry, book your office movers company, plan your new office design and space, plan for IT relocation, and finalize your office lease, dilapidation stroke reinstatement. Dilapidation stroke reinstatement. Normally, once you are renting a facility, you either have the dilapidation or reinstatement clause that's normally there, which tells you, okay, you return the building back to the way it is before you lease it. So you must know exactly what you need to do. Managing office move challenges. Allow plenty of time for communication. Manage and guide staff through the office move. Play to everyone's strengths. Be prepared for disruptions once that happens. Be prepared for disruptions when you're ready to move. Because people are not new to the new spaces, so they need to be well informed and they need to do a lot of things to ensure that you need to ensure a lot of things are in place so that once they are moving to a new location, they are not confused because a new location, they're not used to it. This is preparing the new location. Create a new office plan. Stop layout. It's very important to do that. Create a new office plans to layout. This is where your move committee will be really helpful. Also, it is always difficult to move into new spaces, but when you have it's very difficult to move into new spaces but when you have to figure out where everything goes, it takes a lot of time. Make sure you know where each piece of furniture will be placed and where each employee should sit down. The more detailed the plan is, the better. Normally, once you are relocating, especially for office facility, what I normally would advise is that you do a layout plan, and sometimes you may need to write people's name to the plan and distribute it so that they know, okay, once you go into the building, this is where you're sitting down. And sometimes it's always better also to have top management sign off on this plan. So that when the move happens, you don't have so much people quarreling or fighting to ensure that people cooperate with you and you don't have so much issues with people just saying, okay, they don't like the particular position where you have put them. After the plan has been done and top management has signed, it's always better to have that done. Office move guideline. Office move guideline. Take time to plan effectively. One way to make the office move efficient is to minimize the amount of time that the office moves take. To save time, ensure that you familiarize yourself with the new location. You as a facility manager, you must do the new location. Understand exactly the dimension of the new office. Record the difference in spaces and formats of the rooms. Make sure your old and new desks, chairs, filing cabinet, etc. will be accommodated in the new space. Ensure everyone involves know the new dimension, create a floor plan before the office move. Make sure that every employee receives a copy of that floor plan. Communication during an office move communication during an office move with everyone. Give clear instructions where each piece of furniture needs to be positioned. The easier and the more understandable you make the office move to the mover, the quicker the move will be and the more efficient it will be. Roles of supervisors during an office move. Ensure staffs follow the instructions, including the office move. So during the office move, create an office move guide. Make sure that every staff member receives one. Employee relationship during the move. Will be responsible for their own packing of certain items before the actual move. Normally, what we advise is that once the move is to be done, you get a move company. There are companies that are specialized in moving from place to place. They understand what it means to move offices. Once you employ them, they provide cartons that you'll be using to pack things. And those cartons, you are expected to give each carton to each staff members. Ensure that they make sure that they pack the items themselves. Do not pack for anybody, whether the person is your friend or not. If you have top executive, ensure that their PA does the packing for them to ensure that things don't get missing. And once they are done, you seal those things, the cartons and all that, and you write their names on it, so that by the time you move from the old office to the new office, nobody touches the cartons. They only just move the cartons, and then the contents of the cartons are remain the way they are. Let them pack up their stuff themselves, seal it up themselves, and write their names themselves. Lose items during an office move. Items inside of bookcases, shelves, decks, wall units, or cupboards should be packed securely in a carton. Filing cabinets may not need to be empty. You can just lock it up. They may need to just be locked up or secured, fastened, and when they are doing the work. Preparing decks for an office move. Ensure that all the content of decks are packed by its owner. Items such as paper clips, pencil, and all other loose materials should be put in on glass should be protected with paper and other packing items. It's very important to do that so that they don't just get broken. Moving electrical machines. Disconnect and dismantle computer equipment as specified. Remove all fluids from the photocopiers. Make sure you keep them properly, and make sure the loose items are stored and labeled correctly to ensure that things don't just get missing and then the right state by the time they return back to by the time you put them back. Office move checklist. This is a typical checklist that you should have or prepare. It's not it's just a minimum. You can make that as much as possible depending on the kind of office you are working. One, you just say, okay, decks empty, you go and check all the desks. Once you are sure that all the desks are empty, you tick. Supply cabinets cleared, you check all the cabinets to ensure that they are cleared. Once they are cleared, you tick. Filing cabinets, they are cleared. Once you check all the filing cabinets, they are cleared, you tick. File drawers locked, check if they are locked. If everything is fine, you tick. One item taken down. Once you have items like TV points, designs, paintings and all that, all those things, once they are taken down, you click. Breakables item properly packed. You look at the breakable items, the glass items, they are properly fixtured, fastened and packed properly. You tick. Computers and other machineries disconnected. You check. Once it's fine, you tick. Do not move tag place. Where you have items that you don't want them to move, you just put a tag there to ensure that nobody moves those items. Desk pad, chairs, pad, etc. This is just a checklist that can help you. You already have the slides. You can use that for your use. It depends on the kind of move that you are doing. Employing professional movers. This is very important for you to employ professional movers because they are very, very professional in what they do. They already know it. They are conscious of just how to set the logistics. They understand furniture and guide that can anticipate many form of destructions. They understand what it means. They have opportunity, appreciable resources to help in the transfer of simple items. They have the capability to prepare different phases of the transfer nicely ahead of time, and they utilize color code to know the different items that they are moving. Also, it is very important that when you are getting the professional movers, you get that the professional get what we call the goods in transit insurance. It's very important. It's an important aspect of move management to ensure that all the items that you are moving, they are insured in case there's any accident, so the insurance will be able to cover you at any point in time. It's very important to note that. And also, key consideration for move process. Normally, once you start, we expect that from the six weeks prior to the move, some of these things you set up. Office move planning, 6 weeks prior to the move to your office move. One of the things you need to do is to meet with the IT department and discuss the critical items and components that needs to be moved, such as servers and the critical items. IT is very the backbone of most companies, and you must ensure that they manage what they are supposed to move and know exactly what needs to move. Assign move coordinators role to individuals. And these move coordinators sometimes always better if they are in different departments. Schedule standing weekly meetings with assigned move coordinators. You must have meetings with them. Schedule kickoff meeting. Advise landlord of the old facility and the new facility of the time the move will be taken. Review and clearly define responsibility of different persons when you set up the move coordinators by department. 4 weeks to the move. Finalize your schedule. Review your schedule and responsibilities. Create employee move pack instructions. Prepare agenda and content for employee move orientation meeting, and also identify items of high value. Discuss coverage during the move and by your insurance carriers. This is what we talked about. We talked about the goods in transit insurance. Once you ensure that the movers have taken that insurance, is very important. 3 weeks to the move. Conduct employee move orientation meetings. Distribute employee move pack. Schedule carton delivery for each employee to pack their items. Schedule necessary staff on site visits, and also establish a method of communication depending on how you want to run, either by mobile phones or radio. 2 weeks to the move. Make available cartons and labels to be delivered to different persons in the building, and define the lost and found items, the location, so that when anything are lost or found, they just go to drop it at where you have designated either at the old office or the new office. Create emergency preparedness plan for move. Elevator maintenance, building contacts, contact for IT personnel and supply, contact telecommunication suppliers, and all that. The week of the move, also confirm all building reservations are fine. Conduct supervisor orientation meeting. Complete review of the labeling and items requiring special care. Walk the space and check progress. Confirm schedules of those who will be on site during the move. Post-for plan, office plan diagrams, and the survey of the new office in case of damages. Also, move day. On the move day, assign move coordinators at the original and the new destination. Also prepare to direct movers, answer questions regarding the placement of items, where they are going, monitor the items going to the significant lost or found areas, so that people will know exactly what to go and look for when things are missing. Complete final walk through with the supervisors at the old facility to make sure that all items are moved. Fine-tune cleanup and arrangement at the end of the job. Also, finally, after the move, manage your inquiries from employees. That's normal. Make sure the list of items requiring attention are attended to. Survey for any potential property damage to the space or your assets during the movement and process. Schedule follow-up crew for post-move activity. Post-move activity is almost as important as the move activity itself. You need to go back to the old office to check that everything that needs to be moved have moved. In case anything is forgotten, you'll be able to pick them up before the statement starts, and these things are communicated to the lost or found areas, so you can know how to distribute the stuffs as is required. That should be the last time. Thank you very much. So I'll take our questions now, and then we'll just answer a few questions for now, and then we'll say bye. So let's take our questions now. I hope to answer your questions now. So if you have any question, you can just indicate by raising your hand or send a message on the general chat platform, and I'll just pick your questions. Thank you. Okay, Olufemi, I'll take your questions first. So you can.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. My questions are in two parts. First of all, can this be applied? Is it only limited to office setting, or it can be applied to some other facilities, such as a mall, maybe factory or manufacturing setting? I don't know.
Okay, it can be applied to any facility. Office is just a guinea pig for it. It can be applied to any facility. The principles still remain.
Okay. And there are no peculiarities to those ones apart from the office.
Well, each building has its peculiarity. The principles are still the same. So it's just for you to know. Sorry, I've gone through this whole routine. Now you understand the basic principles of what you need to look out for when you are doing the road.
Okay. The last one is regarding all the while we've talked about move the things that we need to do when we want to move. But what about parking? That's an outdoor issue because in the previous office I worked for, when the staff strength begin to increase, well, I say fortunately or unfortunately, the facility is owned by the business, so they couldn't really move somewhere else because but with time, hello,
There's so much feedback, but I can hear you.
okay, I could hear some background noise. I don't know where it's coming from. So as I was saying, there was issue of parking. As the staff strength increased, their office space is available, but parking was an issue, and most times we had to come very early to work to be able to secure a parking space. Uh, I don't know whether you want to address this regarding what you have talked about so far.
Okay, I'll just say quickly what normally will happen in that kind of situation is that for you as the FM, you scout around for available plot of lands that the company can probably rent and use for extended parking spaces. That's the best way to do since your parking in your facility is already limited, so that you probably have a staff bus or make provision for a bus where staffs will go and park and the bus will move them to the office. When they close, they go back. So you secure the main office space to be able to park as much distance as they come. And the staffs will definitely know where to park and the bus will bring them. That's the best solution in a situation like that. I've also seen that kind of situation, and this is what we offer a solution to them, and which they actually took. Sometimes it's expensive, but it's the best way to go. So littering cars along the road, and in Lagos, in some places, they will come and pick up your vehicles if you don't properly park. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Kazim, I've seen your hand, so let's take your question now. Kazim, unmute yourself and talk, please. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Kazim.
Hello, can you
Okay, I can hear you now, but you're breaking up.
hear me now? Think the
Yes, but
network.
your network is back, but just go ahead. I hope you can pick what you want to say.
Okay, I just want to ask for the space. You said the standard one is 2.8 square meter or 3 square meter per
Approximately
staff
3 square meter per staff member, including
per staff
circulation. Yes.
member. Okay, I want to really understand that. Is it for an enclosed space or just
No,
for a
open up,
or for a
open
works
office, open office, workstation.
for those okay for a workstation? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Another question is for a small room because I'm having one issue now. In one of the space, there is a 2 horsepower AC in a very small space. So one
That's
of
too much.
the that's too much. One of the employee I think he prefer using AC, but others don't even like AC. So it's always a battle between them. That somebody should let this thing be at 23, let this one be at 16. So if you always be having that issues. So I think why designing there should be a standard maybe for like this kind of space, this kind of square meter. This is the normal size of AC that should be installed. It's not
Yes,
that
it's not.
they
It's normal.
maybe
That's a normal thing, sir. The design is normally done. Maybe when people were installing, they just were too ambitious to install a 2 horsepower where they're supposed to have either a 1 horsepower air conditioning system in that space, and that's why you are falling into this issue. Is that's the standard to be done. If it's not followed, it's not the designer's problem, it's probably the owner's problem. And in that kind of situation where you have people struggling like that, normally you just get their grid room comfort level, which is normally between 22 degrees, and then the remote control for that space is taken out of that space so that everybody has a comfort level at 22 degrees. Everybody is fine, so you don't need to increase it. Once it's 2 horsepower, 22 degrees in that small space, it should be enough to chill that space and everybody will be comfortable. Some people just like to be selfish by raising it up to like 16, and other people are not comfortable. 22 is a good standard temperature for a room for everybody to work with. I think that's fine. Once you do that, you take out the as a facility manager, you take out the remote control for the AC from there, and when they are working, 22 is fine. I think that should be able to answer your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the last one, sir, I want to know what can be a guide if I'm just taking up a new facility now, just for me to have an idea or approximate square meter of that particular property. Is there any guide, if without calling a professional to it first, for me just to have an idea? Maybe, for example, I want to know if this is like maybe up to 2,000 square meters or so. Is there something that
Okay,
I just want to
I've
do
given
for
you a
me to just have
standard.
an
I've
idea?
given you a standard of 3 square meters per staff member for an open office. Once you have that, if you need to have, let's say, 100 staff in the office, you multiply 3 by 100, that will give you 300. That is the minimum amount of space that you require, should be minimum of 300 workable space. Normally, you add another 20% to that. Once you add that 20%, that will cater for areas like circulation spaces, corridors, and all that. Once you add that to it, it should take you to like 400 square meters or thereabouts. And once you add, that means that the minimum space you require to be able to rent must, if it's below 400 square meters, it cannot accommodate the number of, let's say, 100 staff. So you are looking for something for like above 500 square meters to be able to manage that. I hope that's clear enough.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Faji, please. I can see your hand, so let's take your question.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
My audible. Okay. Yeah. Sir, during the course of discussion on movements, you mentioned that there are professional movers and they know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Yes. If one is what I want you to take us through, possibly, if one is a facility manager, has a business owner, what would be such person's function, and how would somebody doing that kind of business handle facility management activity as a business owner to move a company?
Well, I don't seem to understand your question very well. But if I think of what you are saying is that you are saying a move company that is also a facility management company. Is that what you are saying?
Yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. You cannot combine it. So a move company is different from a facility management company. You can have an experience as a facility manager and also manage a move company. But what the two aspects of works are different. The only advantage you have is that you understand the facility as a facility manager. And when you are now managing a move company, you know exactly what to look out for. But normally, if you engage a professional move company, they know exactly how to manage all the different aspects that needs to be moved. That's why they are professionals in the field. They will just probably advise you. They will inspect your facility and they will bill you accordingly and tell you what you need to do and what you need to pay. You, as a facility manager of that company, will now coordinate the activities of the movers company to ensure that they move the right things they're supposed to move and not just move everything. And then they just move it to the new location and put it in the places where you want them to put it. They obey instructions, and you need to be clear and thorough to know exactly what you are moving and where you are putting it. So they just make your work exactly easy.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Richardson, sorry. Let's take your question quickly.
All right, thank you so much. Just want to clarify on, you mentioned during the churn rate discussion, the vertical and horizontal staff movement. I want to clarify more on that. I didn't really get it.
Okay. Vertical staff movement is when the staffs are being promoted from level to level. Promotions is frequent. You are moving from junior staff to mid-level staff, from mid-level staff to managerial staff, from managerial staff to senior management staff to an executive level. Maybe in a big company, there's a gradual movement. People move very often. That's vertical. They are going up the ladder. They are climbing the hierarchy of the ladder. Why the horizontal is that they are leaving the company. They are going out of the company. I don't know if you understand. They are resigning, or they are either relocating, or they are being retrenched, or they are retiring. Those are just the two definitions.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any other question? Okay. I'll say if we don't have any further question, I will call it a day right now. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that we'll gain one or two things in this class, and I think our next class should be on Friday, thereabout. So I'll just say have a good evening. Please read through the slide. If you have any questions again, you can send it to the, I'm sure that you have been created a WhatsApp platform. Send it to the secretariat and they'll forward to me, and I'll probably answer your questions. And also, you can also bring your questions in the next class. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
No assessment.
Assessments.
Which you already have.
There is assessment at the end of the material.
Yes, please, you will see that. That is already there. So you can go through that.
Okay. Okay. That's good.